Shalom. I'm Rabbi Josh Caruso of Congregation Mishkan Or, and I'm here to join you in paying tribute and remembrance of our dear Diane Madorsky. I invite you to join with me in the recitation of Psalm 23. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside the still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for your name's sake. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch, a fearful thing to love, hope, dream to be and oh to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death can touch. Dear God, this day be with us and wrap us in your presence like a blanket. Comfort our saddened souls, and may the grieving family find solace in the love they share, in the devotion of friends and community, and in the knowledge of your sheltering presence. O God, console us all in the faith that Diane lives on among us in every family celebration, in each of our smiling memories, in her devotion to friends and family. Dear God, Shomea Tfilot, hear our prayers. Find favor in our dear one, beloved mother, grandmother, sister, wife, treasured presence to so many more. So cherished and admired, shower your presence upon her. May she be welcomed in your presence. And let us say, Amen. Two of Diane's grandchildren, Brandon and Jamie, wanted to share some words. I don't know who would like to start, but please join here on the bima.
Thank you all for being here to honor the life of the woman I was lucky enough to call Grammy. Anyone who had the privilege of spending time with her over the past year probably noticed she wasn't the same person she had always been. Still kind, funny, beautiful, and resilient, but not her true self. And I know this past year is not how she would want her life to be remembered. So the best way I can honor Grammy is by illustrating the woman we all knew and loved. I'll always remember Grammy picking my brother and I up from school every Thursday and hosting the best sleepovers on the weekends. Once we finished our homework, it was her turn to give us a real education on all the things she loved, specifically her favorite movies and TV shows. Some might argue she was a bit premature in introducing Brandon and I to Borat. While Brandon was with Papa Mark, Grammy and I would dance in her bedroom to her favorite Broadway soundtracks. She loved Mamma Mia in Chicago. She had season tickets to the Playhouse Square Broadway series and would often take me and my mom as her date. On one special Mother's Day, Grammy was called to the Allen Theater stage to act as a spelling bee participant, where she put on a show-stopping performance. The crowd was just as devastated as she was when she misspelled a word and had to return to my mom and me in the audience. It was this love for theater and cinema that really bonded Grammy and me. So many of my professional aspirations are rooted in that passion that she instilled. Whether she was taking me to auditions as a kid or reading my screenplays as a young adult, she always rooted for me to succeed in the industry that she so strongly admired. Grammy's interest didn't stop there. She possessed a real love for food and had perhaps the sweetest tooth I've ever known. She always had a fresh tub of cookie dough on call and couldn't go a day without her M&M peanuts. As a chef, she was known for her legendary beef stew and chicken Kelly, among other dishes. As a proud Jewish grandmother, she insisted that matzo balls were better hard than soft. My proud Jewish mother, on the other hand, felt differently. One Passover, both willing to compromise, they each agreed to make their own respective matzo balls. All they could do was laugh when Grammy's came out soft and my mom's came out hard. Grammy was someone I could talk to about anything. Boys, pop culture, politics, and boy did she love talking about politics. She managed to find humor in any situation and never missed an opportunity to laugh, even if it was at her own expense. I'll never forget when Grammy tripped over her dishwasher, chipped her front teeth, and still managed to flirt with the EMTs. Brandon and I were mortified then, but it's one of our favorite memories of her now. Grammy loved love and wanted nothing more than to see my mom, brothers, and I find that once-in-a-lifetime kind of love that she shared with Papa Mark. She romanticized life and added color to any room she walked in. She was a friend to everyone she met, whether it was at the hair salon, Steinmart, or getting to know my friends. Most importantly, she was a best friend to me. I've never known a world without Grammy in it, but I promise to always remember the world that we shared. I love you so much, Grammy. I am who I am today because of my time I had with you, and I love you so much. Thank you.
On the day of my wedding, we dressed my grandmother's wheelchair in flowers. A ring of blue petals and green leaves would spin down the aisle toward her oldest grandson standing under the chuppah. On the day of my wedding, we dressed my grandmother's wheelchair in flowers. A ring of blue petals and green leaves would spin down the aisle toward her oldest grandson standing under the chuppah. Grammy was always a champion of beauty and would not allow her Parkinson's to affect her ability to stun on my special day. The flowers were a big deal. After years of battling the terrible disease, her figure had grown slighter. Despite the elegant gown she wore, she had a real concern that the wheelchair would swallow her up. She couldn't tolerate being portrayed as frail, as sick, as weak. Her whole life, even in the face of immense tragedy and heartbreak, she exuded confidence, grace, and beauty. She wore these traits like her legendary outfits. They were extensions of her personality. The world could throw hell at her, and often did, yet she would always face it looking her absolute best. Thus, if the wheelchair would be part of her outfit that day, it had no choice but to be accessorized as well. So we donned her wheelchair with flowers, and she became a symbol of life and beauty persisting. If courage is grace under fire, Grammy is the bravest person I know. She lived with Parkinson's for a decade, and the more it progressed, the more Grammy feared what the end would be like. She did not want to lose her vitality, her essence. She was an incredible chef, a lover of culture, a comedian not afraid to poke fun at herself, and she had always been a true performer, treating any room she was in as her biggest stage. She did not want Parkinson's to take that away from her. She persisted when she lost her son Scott. She persisted when she lost my Papa Mark. And until Parkinson's had its way in the end, she exuded the characteristics that we loved about her. Everything that made her a great friend, mother, and grandmother. There are moments of my wedding I wish I could live in for eternity. One in particular stands out. It's late in the evening, and the party is in full swing. I've probably visited the bar a couple dozen times by now, so I can hardly believe my eyes when I see Grammy out of her wheelchair, arm in arm with my mom, dancing on the outskirts of the dance floor. My mom is leading, but Grammy is there, holding tight, wearing heart-shaped glasses that cover half her face. She's smiling and swaying to the music. My sister finds me near the bar, yanks my sleeve and says, "Let's go dance with Grammy." And so we run over to her and my mom and start dancing with them. And then my Uncle Stephen and Aunt Peggy and my cousins come over too. And so does my brother Aiden. And then my beautiful bride joins in. And now we're all dancing with Grammy, who is out of her flower-adorned wheelchair, on her own 2 feet, looking amazing in her elegant dress and heart-shaped glasses. And in this moment that I wish I could live in forever, she is a symbol of life and beauty persisting. I love you, Grammy, and I will always miss you.
Thank you, Brandon and Jamie. You brought me back to those moments, the first moments of the beginning of your wedding. I had the distinct honor of officiating at that wedding with you and Jamie. And I will never forget the sight of Diane's future grandson-in-law, Zach, escorting her down the aisle before the happy wedding couple processed to the chuppah. And next fall, I will again officiate at another family wedding for Jamie and Zach. And we will all be missing Diane's temporal presence on that wonderful day to come in September, but she will surely be present in palpable spirit. Indeed, that moment when Diane, dressed to the nines, walked down the aisle was a place she loved to be. She was born to be on stage and in the spotlight. In fact, she was deeply enamored with the theater and celebrity. She loved movies and streamed just about everything. Diane held a subscription series to Playhouse Square, but also performed herself in community theater. She was a reliable extra in movies. Do you remember Those Lips, Those Eyes? And made sure she had an in with the casting director. Diane had a brush with greatness when she met Frankie Avalon, who called her on the phone, and she even got to meet John Lennon. A dear friend of Diane's posted a comment on Facebook that it's irresistibly necessary to share. She said, and forgive me, I forget her name, "An ode to Diane. You were my best friend since junior high. We kept our friendship alive even though we lived in separate states. We had so many fun and crazy moments, meeting the Beatles up and close. She always had the desire to meet the stars. We cruised together and spent hours on the phone, sometimes until 2 a.m. We had the best of the times, the best of the best times, and never had crosswords with each other. We were friends to the end. I will miss our special moments together." Importantly, Diane was a celebrity to the most important people in her life, family and friends. And truth be told, Diane was everyone's best friend with her affable personality, her sharp wit, and fantastic sense of humor. She loved to laugh, and it was that beautiful lightness that stayed with her until her very last days. She was a highly social person, but a serious Maj player. Even when the girls wanted to talk throughout the game, she wanted to focus on the game. Diane Madorsky was born on July 31st, 1944, here in Cleveland. She was raised in Cleveland Heights with her brother Larry, who is here today, and her determination to graduate from Heights High resulted in her move to stay with her aunt when the rest of the family moved to Miami. Larry noted how Diane was a straight-A student, and he always admired her independence. As they grew older, their relationship grew, but they kept close by sharing phone calls regularly, even though they lived miles away. And throughout her life, Diane faced many challenges: a divorce, the loss of her son, Scott, whom she loved dearly. She was a loving and supportive mother to him throughout his days. And the passing of her father on the very same day as Scott's funeral. Losing Scott changed her forever. And still, Diane never let the hardships keep her down for long. She held no grudges and didn't speak poorly about others. And even after the divorce, she was loved and supported by Sarah and Al Sirkin, her former in-laws. In fact, she had a beautiful relationship with the entire Sirkin family. Perhaps her bright view on life was evidenced by her appearance. Fashion and beauty were very important to her. Her earrings, the shoes, everything she always matched. She dressed with flair. Her hair and nails were on point. She was beautiful inside and out. Diane loved being out and about, running errands, and just being productive. Shopping was more than a hobby. It was a bit of a vocation. That said, she did work as an executive assistant and administrator at a respected and busy medical practice, and her work ethic was unmatched. She was a true asset to the physicians in the practice, and she always said, "It doesn't matter what you do, just do it your best." And that is a lesson that Kim and her grandkids always have taken to heart. Given a second chance at love, Diane met the love of her life, Mark Madorsky. She knew Mark from a bowling league, and Diane's allure made Mark utter early on, "I'm going to be with her someday." And the two hit it off. Their life together was steeped with travel and movie-going. They were inseparable. And Mark became a father figure to Kim, who leaned on him and her mom at times to care for Brandon and Jamie in those early days of motherhood. Sleepovers, which Aiden fondly remembers too, included cookie baking and staying up late and YouTube videos. As the kids got older, she supported them in all their endeavors, attending all of their extracurricular activities. They took the kids to the Pokemon movie, of course, and other films they wished to see. Diane consumed media, catching all kinds of movies and also keeping tabs on the political world. She was engaged in that way and had an appreciation for civics and the election process. She even served as a poll worker. She loved dogs and almost every kind of animal. She was a fan of Neil Diamond, and music inspired her in so many ways. Diane was a good cook, making specialties like pesto pasta and beef stew, spaghetti sauce, and more. Kim and Diane were close, very close. And Kim would routinely go to her for advice and for counsel. Kim, she was so very proud of you and proud of your resiliency. They talked several times a day, traveled together, loved being with one another. They held on to each other and always trying to laugh through it all. Kim, through your mom's decline, you have always been there for her. You lived up to the fifth commandment, honor your mother and father. And as we share this tribute for Diane, our hearts are torn. As we think about the many challenges Diane faced, chiefly having to bury her own child. And Diane was granted the gift of a daughter who carried those burdens along with her. Together, we all share in the grief of Diane's family, but we know that her legacy lives on in the generations that have survived her. Zichrona livracha, May Diane's memory be an enduring blessing, and let us say, Amen. I invite you to just take a moment or two to think about the gifts that Diane brought to this world. If you knew her, and if you're just here to take care of her family, we take a moment and invite you to share a prayer for them as they move through this period of grief. I invite you all to rise as you are able for the chanting of El Malei Rachamim, the memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, Im Kedoshim Mutarim, Kezoar Rakiam Mazirim, Et Nishmat Dina Bat Moshe Shalcha Leolama, Bala Rachamim Yastireha, Beseter knafav leolamim, Vitzror achayim et nishmata, Adonai unachalata, V'tanuach beshalom al mishkava, V'nomar Amen. God of abundant mercy, God most high, may the soul of our loved one who has gone into eternity find the gift of perfect peace in your embrace, together with the holy and the pure, whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold Diane close to you forever, so that her soul may be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May she find a home with you. May she rest in peace. And together we say, Amen. So we turn to the conclusion of our service. We will proceed next with the interment at Beit Olam Cemetery, which is on the corner of Richmond and Chagrin. Following the burial, family will receive friends at the residence of Kim Sirkin, 2444 Richmond Road in Beechwood, 2444 Richmond Road. Family asks for you to consider additional parking on Maidstone Lane if it is hard to find a space. The family will be sitting today following graveside services until 7 p.m. and then again tomorrow, Wednesday, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. with a short break, and then again from 7 to 9 p.m. Friends who wish may contribute to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, the Parkinson's Foundation, or the Jewish Family Service Association of Cleveland. ישובב, ינחני במעגלי צדק למען שמו, גם כי אלך בגיא מוות, לא ירא, כי אתה עמדי. יפתחה משנתך חמה.
We ask those friends who are going to that service, please return to your cars, put on your headlights and your hazard flashes. We ask the family and thank you for attending this service today.
Hey, Jen. I'm coming. I'm slow.
Probably we should get together. We really have to get together. You know
Yes,
that.
yes.
We'd be so happy to see you.
Oh, I know.
You call me. Call me at work.
Okay.
691-7300. That's me.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, sweetheart. I just want to say hello to
How is Jerry and the family?
Good, good.